Hey everybody, thank you all so much for watching. So you guys are probably wondering why I haven't uploaded a video in a while, and there's a reason for that. But before I get into that, today's video is not going to be a makeup tutorial. It's just going to basically be about what I've been going through for like the past couple of months. Last time I uploaded a video, I uploaded like 3 of them in 1 week. The next week I took a break since I had uploaded 3 the week before, and then I was going to record a makeup tutorial the following week, but then some stuff started happening, and I'm actually just going to get into that really quickly with you guys and just let y'all know why I haven't been able to upload a video. So first off, before I even get into it, I want to say Merry belated Christmas, Happy belated New Year. Um, and actually, it was like right before Thanksgiving, so happy belated Thanksgiving as well. All right, so first of all, I want to start off with why I haven't uploaded a video. The week that I was gonna upload a video, I was actually out shopping and I was getting ready to buy some clothes for work. And I got a phone call from my brother, who was telling me that my mother was, well, he basically asked me that day if I had talked to my mom. And I told him, yeah, I talked to her earlier today, and he was like, well, how did she sound? I said, well, she sounded fine. And then he tells me that her provider, because my mother's elderly and she was able to take care of herself, but not really. I mean, unfortunately, I live far away. I wasn't able to be with her because she lives in Texas, or she lived in Texas, and due to my husband's work, we currently live in California. Um, Long story short, my mom passed away. She that week that week um that Wednesday that I talked to her, the last time that I talked to her, was she sounded fine. She sounded fine to me. But when we were getting ready to hang up, I had just dropped off my son with my friend who was taking him to school, and when I was talking to her, I was already getting off the exit to my house, and I was like, "Okay, Mom, well, I gotta let you go. I'm gonna get ready to start cleaning my house. My daily routine, for the week." And she's like, "Okay, Mija," and I told her, I said, "Okay, Mama, I love you," and she was like, "I love you too." And when we hung up, she sounded fine, but I felt something. I sensed that there was something wrong. And I ignored it at the time, because I didn't really think anything of it. So later on that day, I was going to go out shopping, and then I get the phone call from my brother, and he basically, told me that my mom's provider called him and told him that they were calling the emergency, the ambulance, because my mom was just not feeling well. So I kind of went into a panic. I got scared. I'm all the way over here in California, and she's all the way in Texas, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I want to thank everybody for all the prayers, for that day and for after that, and I really appreciate it. Y'all have no idea how much that means to me. I put it all over Facebook. I put it on Snapchat, and I got a lot of response, and I love you guys and I appreciate you guys for all of that. So that Wednesday, the day went on, and I was, kind of pacing back and forth, talking to my brother, asking him, what's going on with Mom, and he was basically telling me that, she was in the ER and they were waiting, and, things like that. And another thing with my mom is my mom was really sick. She was diabetic. Um, she was on dialysis. She had cardiac problems. I mean, she had a whole bunch of stuff going on with her. But she was a fighter. She was a really strong woman, and I admire her for that. Everything. She's just an amazing woman. And her body had been through so much, but yet she was still fighting. Um, that Wednesday, later on at night, I get a phone call from my brother, and he's all like, "Oh, so it turns out that it is the flu." And I was like, "The flu?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Oh, okay. Well, then, where is she now?" And he's like, "Well, I'm taking her home right now. They went ahead and they released her, and I'm in her home and basically, take care of her." And I'm like, "Okay." Um, so he took her home, and she didn't want to go home with him. He told her, "Mom, come with me, so I can keep an eye on you, take care of you." And my mom was really hard-headed. She didn't want to feel like a burden, so she would always be like, "No, no, 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 it's okay, it's okay." That's just my mom. So my brother went ahead and he dropped her off. Well, I tried calling her a few times, and I figured, oh, well, she's asleep, like I'll let her rest. Um, the next morning at 4:30 in the morning, I get a phone call from her dialysis center because she had dialysis the next day. And the dialysis center, they told me, they're like, "Your mom didn't show up for dialysis this morning. You are her emergency contact, and we just wanted to, let you know and see maybe you can get a hold of her." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And my mom was very punctual. She was always there on time. If she was running late, she would call them and let them know, "Hey, I'm running a few minutes late," and that didn't happen. So that's when I began to worry. Um, So I called my brother, and I was like, "Hey, I just got a call from the dialysis center. They said that mom never made it to dialysis." And he was like, I'm on my way." So he got ready, he took off. I hadn't heard from him. I think like 10, 15 minutes went by, and I call him again, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was kind of in a panic too. He didn't know what to do. And he was like, "Laura, mom, when I got here, mom was outside leaning against the fence." And I was like, what was she doing outside? Mind you, 4:30 in the morning, my time, California time. So he might have gotten there 4:30, 5:36. So like maybe 6:45, close to 7 o'clock in the morning. He might have gotten there. And she was outside. Well, apparently he said that he said that she was trying to call for help, and he was telling her, she couldn't really talk. She was slurring, and she couldn't talk. So I told him, I said, "You know what? Go to the refrigerator, get her some orange juice. Maybe her sugar's low. I know she hasn't eaten. If she hasn't been feeling good, then she hasn't eaten. So give her some orange juice." He's like, "Laura, she doesn't have orange juice." And I'm like, "Well, you need to get her to the hospital ASAP." So before he got to the hospital, he stopped by the store. He got her an orange juice, and she drank her orange juice. She was able to do that. When they got to the hospital, they took her into the ER. They checked her blood sugar, and it was at a 37. That was after drinking orange juice. So her sugar was really low. Um, so that was on a Thursday. Well, then later on that day, she needed to do dialysis. So my brother said that they took her to go do dialysis, and he had some things to do, so he had to get going. But he was like, he told the nurse, "Call me if anything happens." Well, then like some time went by, and my brother calls me, and he's all like, something happened." And I said, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "Well, I'm on my way to the hospital right now. They basically said that mom, she was kind of out of it, and then when she started like waking up, when she had the needles in her for the dialysis, she started pulling them out. Like she was just like pulling them out of her, and she was just freaking out. So then they sedated her, and they intubated her." For those of you who don't know, when they intubate somebody, it's like to help them breathe. Apparently, she was saying she couldn't breathe. So it's a tube that they put down your throat, and it helps you breathe. But it's really uncomfortable, so they had to sedate her. Uh, when he told me that they sedated her and they intubated her, brought back memories of my mother-in-law, who passed away in June of 2015. I started getting a bad feeling. I was freaking out, and my brother basically said, she has to be intubated. You need to come home. So I got on the first flight out. Friday, the next day on Friday, I was getting all my stuff together, and I went ahead and I purchased the plane ticket, me and my little boy, and we flew out there. Um, I when I got there, she was intubated, and it was hard. It was hard seeing her like that. Really, really hard. She was moving, and I asked the nurses, "Can she hear me?" They're like, "Yes, she can hear you." And I said, "Okay." So I was talking to her, and when I was talking to her, my little boy was with me, and he was talking to her, and she was moving. Like, she started moving her arms and her legs, and she was moving, but she was still like asleep. She was already weaned off of the sedation, but for renal patients, your kidneys aren't functioning very well, so it's a lot harder for the body to get rid of the medication, so it was still in her system. So it took her about a good 3 days for her to finally come out of it. And when she did, that whole week, the week before Thanksgiving, I was able to see her. She was able to look at me. She couldn't talk very well. She kept saying she wanted to go home. She wanted to go home, and I said, "Mamacita, you can't go home. You have to get better before you go home." Um, so one thing I'm not gonna forget is I had gone to Whataburger. It's kind of like an In and Out. It's like the In and Out of Texas. That's the place. And I went and I got a Whataburger. I had a drink, and I went back to the hospital. I stayed with her every single night. Since I got there, I was there every single night by her side. And poor thing, she was thirsty, and she told me, she was like calling me, and I was like, "What's up, mama?" And she was pointing, like looking at the drinks. I had it across the room, and she was looking at it like for me to go and get it for her, and I was like, "Mom, I can't do that." And she's all like, "Please, Mija." And I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to get in trouble." So I closed the curtain, and I was like looking, making sure none of the nurses were looking. So I went and I got the Coke, and I like got some in the straw, and I was giving it to her, and she was so thirsty. And when I saw that she could swallow, I said, "Okay, maybe I'll tell the nurse, maybe they can bring her bring her some Jello, something, some broth, something that she can take," because she was able to swallow the Coke. So when that happened, they were like, "No, we can't really do that. Um, I'll give her some water." And I was like, "Okay." So they gave her some water with a sponge and everything, and it was funny. It was one of the best moments that I had with my mom in the hospital. So sorry. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to talk about it because I love my mom so much. She was awake for that week, and we were able to talk to her. We were able to. I'm so sorry. I was trying to keep myself from crying, but it's hard. Um, that week was the hardest week for me. She looked good. One thing I can tell you guys is God. God is amazing. Because when I got there, I was asking for prayers, and people were praying, and I kept seeing signs everywhere that she was going to get better. I saw signs everywhere that she was going to get better. And she did. I met a woman, amazing woman. Her dad was going through the same thing. It turned out my mom had sepsis. That's an infection in the blood. Apparently, she had pneumonia. And she had already been telling me like weeks before, like she would feel nauseated, one day she'd feel good the next, and it was just kind of like a back and forth thing with my mom. Um Well, it turned out she had sepsis, and for somebody like my mom who has all the complications that she has, it's a lot harder for them to get better. And if they do get better, it's going to take a while. It usually takes a healthy person about 3 weeks to get better. You can just imagine somebody who's not healthy, how long it takes them to get better if they're a fighter. Um, I met this woman, and she made me feel she brought my hope back. I had already started losing hope from what the doctors were saying. And this woman that I met, when I was talking to her, she told me about her dad. She told me, how he had sepsis at one time and then he got better, and it just brought back all this hope, and my energy changed. I was a lot more hopeful, and I never lost my faith, but I was beginning to lose my hope. And meeting this woman, it was funny because oh my god. It was funny because when I took a break from, being in the room with my mom, she was trying to get a cat. There was a little kitten somewhere in the hospital in the outside in the parking lot, and we were trying to get the cat. So it was just really funny. It was a little wild cat, but we were trying to get the cat, and I was texting my cousin, and I was just letting my cousin know that I had met this amazing woman, and she just really hope back into brought hope back to me. I had hope that my mom was gonna get better. She was gonna come out of it, and she was gonna get better. And when my cousin was texting me, she's like, Mija, I think God put this woman in your path to make you, to basically, what's the word I'm looking for? To bring me more at peace, which she did. And when my cousin was texting me this, at the same time, this woman was like, you know what? I feel like God put me in your path to make you feel better, to bring hope and peace in your heart. And it was so crazy how my cousin had just texted me that. I was standing up and she was on the ground trying to get the cat, and that's what she told me. It was amazing. She was an amazing woman. We bonded that day. We did. And Diana, if you're watching this video, I want to thank you for that day, because you really brought peace into my heart. As time went on, my mom, she would wake up and things like that, and she was kind of like in and out, asleep and stuff. And then my mom, that weekend, a week after I had arrived, that Saturday, I was going to spend the night in the hospital, and my mom was in a deep sleep, and I noticed she was on blood pressure she had been on blood pressure medications, but they had taken her off of the blood pressure medications to see if her blood pressure was okay to be able to sustain itself without the medication, which they had already taken it off, so she wasn't on any medications. But then a week after I got there, that Saturday, I noticed that my mom, when you're looking at the monitor, I noticed that her blood pressure was dropping. So I told the nurse. So the nurses came in, and they situated my mom because she was kind of like leaned forward. And so they picked her up, so where she could like breathe, and then it went back up. So I was like, okay, well, it's good. Well, then like not even a couple of minutes later, it dropped again. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So I told the nurse again, and they went and they talked to another nurse, and they upped her medications again for the blood pressure. So I already had a bad feeling. I was already feeling like something wasn't right. I didn't want to leave my mom's side. But one of the nurses came in, and he told me, he's like, you know what, your mom's in good hands, don't worry, go ahead and go home, get some rest, and we'll call you if anything happens. And I was like, okay. Well, I was staying at my brother-in-law's house. He lives literally like 2 minutes away from the hospital. So I said, okay. So I went home, and I got some rest. The next morning, I get a call from my brother, telling me that he had just gotten a phone call from the doctors, that the doctors were saying that mom couldn't breathe very well and that they were going to have to intubate her again. When my brother told me that, broke my heart. And he told me, he's like, you do know that since she has to be intubated again, doesn't look good. And I said, well, I didn't, but now I know. When I got, as soon as he told me that, I hung up. I didn't even brush my teeth, nothing. I just put on my shoes and I took off. And when I got there, they were already doing the procedure. They were already intubating my mom. I knew I shouldn't have gone home that night. I knew I should have stayed. One of the nurses had offered to put like a recliner, and I said, no, it's fine. You know, I was just going to sleep out in the hall. I didn't even get to say goodbye, or I didn't even get to be with my mom right before it happened, right? Maybe she was awake. I don't know. I think about this all the time, and I've been beating myself up for it. Like, I wish I hadn't left. I wish I would have stayed. I mean, I was there the whole time. She saw me there the whole time. She saw my oldest son. She never did get to see my little one because when we got there, she was still, coming out of the sedation, but she wasn't fully awake. They sedated her. She went under again. Then the doctor tells us, we asked the doctor, what's the next step? What happens now? And he's like, well, from the looks of it, that she was very deconditioned. The next step would be to put a tracheotomy. That's like a tube. Instead of putting the tube in her mouth, they put it in her throat. She would have a hole there, and she would have to be on a feeding tube. Long time ago, my mama told me, Mija, if I ever get to the point where I cannot do anything for myself, where if you had to make a decision, whether I stay on the machines or not, I'd rather not be on the machines. I don't want to be on the machines. I don't want the machines keeping me alive. Just let me go. I never thought that day was going to come so soon. My brother and I talked about it. My mom tried to talk to my brother about it, but he never wanted to talk about it because, that's something you don't want to talk about with your parents, but you kind of have to so that you're prepared and know what to do when it happens, when the time comes. And I told him, I said, that's what she told me. She would never want that. What I wish I would have done is when she was awake and she was able to communicate, I should have asked the doctors if things go downhill, what would be the next step. If he would have told me, I could have had that conversation with my mom and I would have been like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Because my mama didn't want to die. She wasn't ready to go. She wasn't. I was going to bring her back to California with me. I was going to take care of her. If I had to quit my job, I would quit my job just to be there with her, be here with her, and take care of her. My mom passed away on December 2nd, 2015. I was in the room with her when she took her last breath. We had to put her in hospice. She was in inpatient hospice at the hospital. Me and my cousin and her provider, all three of us were in the room with her. My mom was an amazing woman. And I know this video is kind of long, but I just wanted to let you guys know what I'd been going through. She passed away. I came back like 2 weeks before Christmas, or a week and a half before Christmas. Um, I was just spending time with my family, my husband, my kids. I went back to work, and then it's just been really hard for me to film a video. I don't like filming videos in front of my husband. I feel kind of weird because he makes me nervous, and then he starts to make fun of me if I say something, and then I just that's just the reason why I haven't filmed the video. Um, but yeah, my mom was a really amazing woman, and I beg all of you, if you still have your parents, put down the phone, spend time with them, talk to them. If you feel like you need to talk about the death when that time comes, talk to them about it so that you know what to do when the time comes, when it happens. Don't take your parents for granted. I did when I was living with them for a long time. I took them for granted. I finally became a woman when I moved out here with my husband. I still had the mind of a young teenage girl, being married to my husband and having my first child. I still had that mentality. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit it. When I moved out here, that's when I grew up. When I finally moved out of the house. Don't take your parents for granted. Show them love. Take care of them. They took care of you when you were young. And then it's our turn as we get older to take care of them. What I should have done, I should have forced my mom to come to California and live with me. But I didn't. She wanted to come with me, but then she didn't because she didn't want to leave my dad behind. My dad passed away July 24th, 2012. I was pregnant with Ethan, my little boy. I was 3 months. I was going to have him in 3 months when my dad passed away. So I was with her the entire time. She didn't want to leave him, and I respected that. Take the time to talk to your family. Take the time to talk to your parents. If you live far away, if you don't live with them, or if you live down the street, take that time to visit with them. My mom, towards the end, like a few months, I think maybe I talked to her within minutes, and times I talked to her like a total of maybe a few days because it was hard. I'm a busy woman, you know. I get busy with my kids, I get busy with my husband, I get busy in the house. And when she would call me, I would talk to her for a little bit, and then I would be quiet because I was so focused doing whatever it was that I was doing. And she'd be like, "Ay, mija, well then I'll go ahead and I'll let you go. I know you're busy." And I'm like, "Okay, mamacita, I'll call you back." Sometimes I would even forget to call her back. I would just be so caught up with what I was doing. I would go to bed, and then I would send her a text. Don't do that, you guys. Your parents call you, take that time to talk to them, because one day they're not going to be there. That's the one thing I regret the most, is not taking that time to talk to my mom. I miss her so much. I had a dream about her this morning, actually. I dreamt that she left me a voicemail, and I already knew she had passed away, but my dad was there. My dad had his legs and everything because my dad was diabetic too, but when he passed away, he didn't have his legs. They had amputated his legs due to his diabetes. And in this dream, my mom passed away before my dad. And she left me a voicemail, and I was like, freaking out. I was telling my dad, Dad, Mom left me a voicemail, like, but she's gone, and how did she do this? And she was telling me how much she missed me, how much she loved me. I'm hurting. I can't let her go. It's hard. It's hard to let her go. I'm a strong woman, and I get it from her because she was a strong woman. But today is just one of those days. Because I dreamt of her. I feel like she was trying to communicate with me through my dreams and tell me that she loved me. She was trying to tell me that she loved me, that she missed me. God only knows how much I love her. I miss her so much. Please, guys, when your parents call you to talk to you just to see how you're doing, talk to them. Take that time and talk to them. Stop what you're doing. If your kids are running around and screaming, tell them to just put on a movie for them or something. Get them distracted and go talk to your family. Go talk to your mom or your dad. I have my mom here with me. She was cremated, and I have a pinch of her ashes with me. I hold on to them, and I pray to her. Just take my advice. Never take that time for granted. That was the reason for today's video. I just wanted to give you all that message. Let you know why I haven't filmed a video in so long. But I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to make my mama proud. She never did get to see my videos, because she didn't know how to use her phone. She didn't know how to get onto YouTube. She didn't know how to do any of that. But I'm going to make her proud. I want my mama to be proud of me. So please, guys, if you feel like this message encouraged you to not take for granted the time that you have with your family, with your parents, please like, share, subscribe. I want to put that message out there. I want everybody to know that their parents aren't going to be around forever, and to take that time to be with them, to love them, to cherish them. Anyways, I just want to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you. I know this was a long video, but I want to thank you for sitting down and listening to what I had to say. I promise sometime this week, maybe even tonight or tomorrow, I will film a tutorial for you guys. Let me know what y'all want to see and I'll do it for you. If not, I'll just kind of pick my own look, what I want to do, and I'll film that for you. But yeah, thank you all so much for your time, and please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.